Today I'm out in the garden because it is time to harvest the very first strawberries of the season, and also because it is definitely time for another tour. Things have been changing so fast, and since the last time you saw it, it looks completely different. So just starting with the porch steps here, I have mostly peppers and eggplants as the starts that I have not put up yet. I also have a cat. Kata! Hi, yeah, that's you. Yeah, so mostly I have my peppers here, I have eggplant, I have some ginger that has not sprouted yet, which is very weird for this time of year. It should have sprouted by now. Some leftover basil because I've already planted basil out, and we'll go look at that in a minute. I have here some more pepper starts. I have some tomato starts. These are actually intentionally behind everything else. And they're a variety called Long Keeper, which is not very interesting, but it is very descriptive. So these are a type of tomato that should keep for a long time at room temperature without doing anything to them. You pick them and then you just set them on the counter, and they should be able to last for a really long time. Now, so the one you just saw is like an heirloom variety of Long Keeper, and this one right here, this is actually a brand new variety. It was recently developed and I got some seeds, which I'm super excited about, but these are going to be very nice Long Keeper tomatoes. Hopefully they are going to last like 8 months at room temperature and still be able to be delicious without being too mealy. Definitely the quality decreases the longer that they sit out, but they should still be good for cooking and other stuff like that, even if they're not like peak fresh eating. And I don't care about that anyway because I don't like fresh tomatoes. It's going to save me some space as far as like freezer. If I was going to try and store them, it's going to save me some effort because I don't have to make maybe a whole nother batch of sauce. And I'm very curious because I've never had a type of tomato like this before, and I was already planning on growing the heirloom ones when I found this variety online, and I'm like, yes, we're going to try both. I have some more rare perennials over here that have sprouted. This one is pink skirt, and so this is going to be like a carrot replacement. Oh, hello. Yes, you like the scritches? Okay. And so this one, which is this? Okay, this is Korean celery. So this should be kind of a perennial celery. This one is silverweed, which I got because I think it's going to be a really good medicinal. And then this one is spinach vine. So it is going to be a vine that tastes like spinach, and it is going to be theoretically good at producing in the heat of summer, which is the problem for us here in the South. It is really hard to get really good, tasty greens during the heat of summer because a lot of your traditional greens are going to go bitter. Oh my goodness. So photogenic, so regal. So the main garden is mostly weeds at this point. You can see almost all of the rows are weeds with some stuff in them. This row right here is the most planted out row. There's still some weeds, but I have been kind of weeding as I go. And you can see right here in the center, these are my garlic, and these will come up in about mid to late June, and that'll be just in time for the tomatoes that are planted right here to be getting really big. And so as these are getting big enough to actually shade these guys out, these will be done. I also do still have some lettuces in here, although it is starting to get to the point where they are going to be a little too bitter depending on the variety. Some of them will last a little bit longer. I've also planted my basil with my tomatoes. You can see tomato, tomato, basil, and you can see I've topped my basil. I like to do this when I plant them so that it has a sturdier base. If you didn't know, basil is like a hydra. You can see I topped it here, but it's growing 2 new heads. And essentially every time you do that, it will grow 2 new heads. And so it'll be just one stem at the base and then really big and fluffy at the top. And so I try to top it early so that that first split is really low down and it gives the plant just a little bit more stability overall. I also want to update you guys on my Egyptian walking onions. As you can see, they look absolutely ridiculous, and somebody in the comments, and then also somebody I know in real life who grows these, you guys were able to tell me that this is fairly normal. Like this little top right here, this is mostly what I expect from a walking onion. You can see it's making a little bunch of teeny tiny onions at the top. Meanwhile, this one that is just like kind of already growing its onions from the top felt abnormal to me. Turns out it's completely normal, and these things just kind of do that. Some of my tomatoes are already flowering, which feels very early to me, but I will go ahead and let them because most of these are indeterminate tomatoes and they will keep flowering throughout the season. So an early flower isn't something I have to worry about as far as like redirecting the plant's energy into growing while it's still small. These are actually fairly large at this point, so I think it can support beginning to set fruit. And if I don't let them set fruit early in the season, later in the season they're going to struggle because tomatoes can't really set fruit when it gets really, really hot outside, except for the varieties that are specifically for that. So my Homestead 24 tomato, this one is meant to be setting fruit at very high temperatures. So I'm hoping that when some of the other heirloom varieties are not going to be setting fruit, my Homestead one is going to be setting fruit, and they will kind of offset each other. So as far as other interesting things going on in here, we can look at some of my annual onions. They are starting to put on flowers, and I'm thinking I will probably try to chop all of these off so that they can put more energy into making bulbs. It is unfortunate that almost all of them are going to seed, and this is probably just because of the super weird winter we had and the warm cold plus the ice storm. Like these guys, you know, they're set off to flower for very weird temperatures, so that's probably what's going on there. And so of course there are a ton of weeds in here that are competing and also kind of shading out these onions, so I do need to come through and probably chop and drop a lot of the stuff in here. Also not pictured, but I have already planted some of my beans for the tomato trellis. If you guys have been here a while, you've seen that I grow this purple pole bean called Blue Cocoa, and I always grow it with my tomatoes. So those seeds are already planted. I need to get noodle beans in the ground because I gotta grow noodle beans every single year, but that'll probably happen today or tomorrow. And just an update on what was supposed to be the carrot patch. The weeds, turns out they grow faster than carrots. So there are technically still carrots in here, like you can find their little greens, but I don't suspect that they will get very big at all. What had happened was I cleared this area out, I tried to pull every single weed, and then I planted my carrot seeds, and there were still enough weed seeds in here. Oh goodness, the birds. They are trying to talk over me. So anyway, there were so many weed seeds, and once the carrots sprouted, so did the weed seeds. And because carrot taproots when they're babies are so delicate, I didn't feel comfortable pulling the weeds from around them because I didn't want to disturb them. And I was hoping they would grow fast enough to outcompete the weeds, but that did not happen. Very unfortunate, but it's fine. I will probably reset this bed in about a month for some other crops. And also, if you look carefully, you can see that my perennial cucumber is coming back, and it is everywhere. They are all over the place. The other place where I have stuff worth looking at least in the main garden, is this back corner. You can see I've got more garlic here. I had planted this around the kale that was here, which you can see is starting to get overgrown and is starting to die. With the heat, these brassicas don't do really well, and they start getting eaten up by aphids. And also these beetles, I think that might be a harlequin beetle. But yeah, these don't survive once it's consistently warm. And so the garlic is now starting to take over this area. And I also have some more walking onions over here in this area. I'm hoping that they will create a really nice big patch of them here. There's also a blueberry hidden in here that last year made like 4 blueberries for me. And this year I don't see any, but it's okay because some of the other blueberries are actually making berries for me. Okay, and last thing in this general area, I have next to my mushroom logs, I just planted a bunch of new strawberries. This is the Sequoia variety, and they are starting to put up little leaves. And while we're here, I will update you guys on the mushroom logs. So far, nothing, nada. I don't see them being taken over by any other mushrooms, but these have definitely not fruited at all for me yet. All right, so let's move on to this beautiful pergola and also a little bit of the sarch. This is almost entirely grapes right now, and if we walk up close to them, you can see that they are actually starting to make all their little grape bunches already. And once you know what to look for, they are suddenly everywhere. I have so many of them, so I'm gonna have a crap ton of grapes this year, which I am pretty excited about. Also on this pergola is my hardy kiwi. This is coming into its 3rd year here, and so far I don't see evidence of flowering, which is a little sad because I was hoping that I might get fruit from this year. But if not this year, then probably next year. And you know, we got to be patient. As gardeners, everything is a test of patience, and it is really beautiful in the meantime. It tends to do these cute little spirally things with its stems, and that in itself is just really pretty. Past the pergola, we have all of the raised beds. This section right here, I have in this pot planted chamomile, and it is taking its sweet time, but all these little bitty baby greens are chamomile. These bigger ones are weeds, but definitely hoping for some chamomile. I always struggle to get my chamomile to reseed itself. Everybody seems to have no trouble with that at all. It's always coming up in everybody's gardens, and for me it just doesn't seem to happen that way, so I do kind of have to baby it a little bit. All the rest of these pots are some of the really fun mints that I got last year. I've got like an apple mint, a strawberry mint, an orange mint, a peppermint, a chocolate mint, a mojito mint, a spearmint, and I think that's it. These are all going to be really pretty and bushy in probably just a couple of weeks. And then of course this bed right here, we have asparagus and strawberries. Now my asparagus, oh good, okay, so I was about to say this one started to come back. It had a really big stalk like this right here, and I cut it because I'm like, this is definitely big enough to harvest. And then for a long time nothing else came up, and I was like, oh no, I killed it. But I can see now more is coming up, so I'm really relieved to see that. And I may or may not cut this one as well. This asparagus has been really slow to get started for me for whatever reason, but I am probably going to dig out the crowns. I did recently come across a video explaining how invasive the roots can be, and because of all the different raised beds that I have nearby, I'm thinking it might actually someday escape and start invading those raised beds. So I'm thinking I might dig up the crowns and just put them somewhere else where they're a little bit farther away from all of this stuff, and they can take over there and it'll be fine. Oh look, Kata, she's following me still. Yeah, but I'm probably going to dig out these crowns and replant them, and I think they should be able to handle that. So also down in here is where I'm going to be getting my first strawberries from. Right under here, oh, you can see, look at that beautiful dark strawberry, and there's no slug damage, which I was really worried about. This bed was full of actually pill bugs last year, and I think it's because of the fresh wood chips I had put in here. They really like the wood chips. But this is gorgeous and perfect, and if you look closely you can see there's a lot more hiding in there, which is super exciting. This time of year is so busy, but I am so ready for it. I'm so ready to get into the busyness this year. I am prepared, I think. The other thing in this bed is my saffron. This is about half of my saffron and half is in other places. You can see it looks fairly sad. That's because this is not the time of year for this particular crocus. Saffron is a crocus that blooms in the fall, and I expect it to look relatively sad all summer until it comes back in the fall. This raised bed here has a little bit more of that saffron crocus in it at the end here. And then this is mostly my perennial herbs, my sage, which looks amazing as always. My Italian oregano is coming back. My feverfew here died fully. It must have gotten just a little too cold for it. We did get down to 7 degrees Fahrenheit this year, which is very cold for this area. It should not be getting that cold. So, oh my goodness, Kata. So yeah, feverfew has died, but everything else is looking okay. The thyme that I have is a pretty old plant, and so I think I probably need to cut it back a bit, but it is still doing pretty good overall. I have a second raised bed full of a lot of herbs here. This right here is my garlic chives. I also have another kind of thyme here. This is a hi-ho silver thyme, and you can see originally when I got it, it was variegated like this. And then most of it has grown in to be not variegated, which is fine. Oh goodness, honey. It's fine that it's not variegated. I wish it was, but it is still a very prolific and beautiful thyme. I also have my onion chives right here that are starting to flower. And up here, well, Kata, as our tour guide, will show you, these are potatoes. I originally had carrots in here and they died. So now we have potatoes. And then down here is my Greek oregano. This is the oregano that you plant if you want it to take over. It is a great ground cover. It is great at spreading, and it has even started coming up in this top section. So I'm starting to have to wrangle it a little bit. These I'm excited about. This is another perennial onion I've been trying to get, and it is, yeah, this is the mountain multiplier onion. You can see this one is starting to bulb up, which is great, but I'm going to leave it and allow it to split and multiply. So this is a long-term project, but I am eventually hoping to have only perennial onions in my garden. This bed right here is traditionally my sunchoke bed, and if you've been here before, you remember last year it was absolutely full of them. You can see them starting to come back here. And you can also see, if you know that that's what a sunchoke looks like, that there's some here and here and here, and it totally escaped the bed. What I did to harvest them last year is I actually put out a tarp, dug all the soil out of this raised bed, sifted through it for the sunchokes, put all the soil back. And that felt necessary because of how deep the sunchokes had gone. And I did not plant any more in here when I was done. This is solely coming up from the little pieces that got missed. And that's kind of how sunchokes are. Once you put them somewhere, it will be very, very hard to get rid of them. And if you are hoping to have a very reliable, very low maintenance food source, then that is absolutely perfect. And that is kind of what I've been going for here. They produce so heavily. I had 2.5 5-gallon buckets come out of this one little area. Also interplanted with these, I have a few regular potatoes because I just had a couple that I couldn't fit in any other area. And then also, interestingly, my ground nuts, American ground nuts, came back. That's what these vines are. I haven't gotten them big enough to harvest yet, but hopefully this year I will. I actually had to go find them all as we were sifting through the dirt and be sure to carefully replant them because they are a perennial. So I'll be very interested to see how that goes. But my idea here is, since they're vining, they should climb up the sunchokes pretty well. It seems they're a little bit ahead in that regard, but this is all just a lovely experiment. This is a native plant, a native food source, and so I just want to learn as much as I can about stuff like that. This orange raised bed right here is mostly full of brassicas, which are finishing up. You can see this one's gone to seed, and it is also being super attacked by aphids. This is a specific type of aphid that loves stuff in the brassica family, in the cruciferous vegetables. So this is basically being killed right now, but also I will be pulling it out soon anyway. There's also a few lettuces in here, and this bed will be reset pretty soon. I think I'll have to go back and look at my plan, but maybe I think sweet potatoes are going in here, and at that point I'll pull everything. And then here I have 2 brand new raised beds that still need to be filled. I don't know what I'm putting in them yet. I just knew that I wanted more, so I bought some more. And they will be filled eventually, and I will maybe do peanuts in one of them because I was finding I didn't have room for peanuts in my plan this year. So maybe peanuts in one of them. This raised bed right here, this was a bit of a disappointment for me. It was supposed to be entirely garlic. Vast majority of that garlic did not come up. And so I actually recently replanted in between the sparse garlic here some amaranth and some southern peas. And I don't see anything sprouting yet, but I have been watering every day and I am certain that at least the beans will come up. Now moving on to the berry patch. Right here I have my giant St. John's wort that is doing a very good job of being more beautiful ground cover than Bermuda grass. And right next to it is one of my blueberries. You can see it's looking really good this year. All my blueberries are actually. This one doesn't have a ton of berries, but the ones it does have are looking really, really nice. This one has a ton of berries, but they're all teeny tiny. I'm thinking that I need to start pruning them soon. I watched a video and I will be trying that out. I do not know what I'm doing well enough to teach you guys yet, but yeah, it seems that blueberries need a little bit of pruning. Now I also have strawberries in here. These are a little bit behind the other ones. I think I see one here that is being eaten. Yep. But these ones I have planted more of. This is the sparkle variety, and you can see I've put a bunch more in here. I had a lot a couple years ago, and then we had a drought and a ton of them died. So I'm trying to repopulate in here. These are my blackberries. You can see they're starting to make little bitty fruits. You can see better here. Little green fruits. These will be ripe pretty soon. Next is the rhubarb. This I have harvested some from already. It's a little bit ahead of my strawberries. The plan is to make strawberry rhubarb pie for my dad. So we're going to save the stalks and make some strawberry rhubarb pie whenever all the strawberries are ready. Now this area is entirely raspberries, and I'm quite excited that they are looking so good this year. Raspberries are always just a little bit behind the blackberries, and so you can see they are flowering and just barely starting to make teeny tiny baby fruits right now. All right, and that moves us on to this perennial area. This is my pineapple guava. It is starting to wake up from the winter, and you can see this silvery leaf right here. This is a new leaf that it's putting on. I don't know if it'll fruit this year. Maybe, maybe not. There's a chance though. There is a chance. I think the last time you guys saw this, it was full of tulips, and the tulips have died back. The daffodils have not quite died back yet, but they will soon. And I told you guys that part of the reason that I put them here is because they will be early and they will die back, and then I will be able to mow in between the larger plants here. And I wanted to remind you that it's really important to wait until they fully die back to go ahead and mow them over if you're doing that, because the plant needs to spend some time putting extra energy back down into the bulb so that it can come up again. And if you take away its ability to photosynthesize too soon, you might not get it coming back next year. It might come back, but it might not flower. So just keep that in mind. These are right next to one of my figs. This one is just starting to come back. It's coming back from the base instead of the tips because this variety could not take the cold, which is fair. It got pretty cold. This variety did much better. This one is the LSU purple, and it is entirely coming back from the tips, which is just a really good sign that it took the cold really well. Over on this side, I have my dwarf pomegranate, which still looks dead as a doornail. I am continuing to lose hope that it is going to come back, which is unfortunate, but I think I might replace it with some slightly more cold hardy pomegranate types. This one right here is the Carolina allspice. It is a native plant, and it is making these beautiful little blooms. The bark on this also tastes a little bit like cinnamon, which is pretty neat. And then the last thing to look at is our 3 citrus. So this one is dead. If I come down in here, you can see this is what is left of it. Yeah, it is dead, unfortunately. But the other 2 are doing great. This is my US 942. It is putting on beautiful new leaves. And this is my kumquat, which is also putting on beautiful new leaves. So I am hopeful for these 2 that they will survive another season. And so if you're new here, those citrus are special varieties that are supposed to do really well in my climate outdoors. Most citrus, you need to be zone 8 or 9. I am technically zone 8A, but I am still kind of on the edge of 7B, so it does sometimes get too cold here for regular citrus. And really, the further south you go, the better citrus will do outside for you. However, these ones, theoretically, according to the person I bought them from, should eventually be able to survive outside on their own. They needed a lot of protection this year because they're little babies, and that is why the littlest, babiest one did die. But the other 2, I think, eventually will need very minimal intervention from me to survive the winter. All right, we're over here at the last section to look at. I have here my little fig that always takes forever to come back and scares me into thinking it's dead. I also have this raspberry here that I assumed was dead until I noticed it's coming up here, it's coming up here, it's also coming up out here. This is the only raspberry I have that has thorns, and it is because my grandma bought it for me. So I'm glad that that one survived. I also found another thornless raspberry variety at the store, so I just had to get it. I don't know if it'll make berries for me this year, but I am happy to try it out. And then there's the elderberry. This I'm also thinking isn't going to flower this year. I saw flowers on somebody else's elderberry, and so I'm like, yeah, this is the time, and it is not doing the thing. So maybe one more year on this, and it'll feel good enough, established enough to go ahead and flower. So yeah, there's a lot in the garden right now, but there is about to be a lot more. And if you have any questions, I am super happy to answer them down in the comments. I love helping you guys out. And if you would like to keep up with how the garden is going all summer, then make sure that you subscribe. We all know the algorithm is like not that great sometimes at making sure that you come back to the stuff that you actually want to see. So make sure that you are subscribed, and thank you so much for watching. I will see you next time. But until then, happy gardening.